Thanks for having us here. We're super excited to be on stage, presenting some of the best projects we've seen in Korea for the first time outside of Korea. For those of you guys that don't know, my name is Alex Shin. I'm the Chief Business Officer and Partner at Hashed. We're the largest crypto assets fund, accelerator, and community builder coming from Korea. What's been really interesting in Korea, if you guys don't know, we've been dominating the trading volume charts for quite some time now. And what happens is when you have kind of the penetration that's going on there, so someone estimated something like 30% of white-collar workers have traded crypto or something like that. The local entrepreneurs and enterprises are very interested and very motivated to get into the space. And of them, we've brought, I guess, 4 projects to kind of talk about their experiences getting into the ideas. And we'll take some questions at the end to kind of touch on that as well. What's sort of important is, since we have 4 panelists and not too much time, we want to keep this fairly light and fluffy. At 2 p.m. upstairs, we have a breakout session. So if you guys have more in-depth questions, you can check out their entire demo and go from there. By the way, so yesterday when I was out and roaming around, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that were very interested in doing an ICO. They have existing businesses as well. But at a high level, before we jump in too deep, let's start by just introducing each of the panelists just quickly on your backgrounds and your existing business today, so people have a better idea.
All right, let me start.
Yeah.
Let me talk about our existing business first.
Say your name, Alex.
Yeah, Alex, CEO and co-founder at Watcha team. So let me talk about our existing business, Watcha, first. We've been running our content platforms with about 4 million users and 370 million reviews and ratings, and that's a dominating #1 in Korea. And one of our business is paid subscription VOD service like Netflix, and it's the biggest competitor against Netflix in Korea. And it also won the partnership with the Samsung Electronics this year. So every customer buying Samsung Galaxy S9 gets 3 months free voucher of Watcha Play.
Very cool.
So the copyright protocol, the tokenizing project we are getting into it, is the paid content exchange protocol, where the content providers, platforms, and users can cooperate and coexist. So, because content providers are really upset that the major platforms have been charging unreasonably high commissions and non-transparent with their revenue sharing system. So so we set out and found an answer, and that is the copyright protocol.
Very cool. Grant?
Hi guys, my name is Grant Sohn. I'm the CEO of Spoka, which runs Korea's largest loyalty point system. We have about 10,000 merchants and 16 million users in Korea, which is about 1/3 of the population there. And we're launching an ICO that will supplement our existing business. I'm from Seattle originally. I moved to Korea 6 years ago because of the soju and barbecue, and then started this business, and took 6 years. But we have a great network of merchants and users that we're excited to introduce the blockchain to, and I'll share more about that later.
Very cool. And Valentino.
Hi, this is Valentino from Cosmochain. So Cosmochain is founded by a company called Huisol. Huisol is a Chinese cosmetics company that sells Korean beauty products to Chinese customers through their mobile apps. And their mobile app has 1,600 sales reps that actually talk to each of the beauty customers. And Huisol has 2.5 million monthly active users. And in terms of revenue, Huisol made $44 million last year. And personally, I'm from the Boston Consulting Group. I worked as a consultant for the past 4 years. And the reason that Cosmochain was founded is because Huisol has increased its revenue by 2 times by adding the power of data to their platform. So whatever the sales reps talk to the customers, it gets recorded and it gets stored in the data. And as a consultant myself, I've seen so much needs in the cosmetics world in terms of data, because if you see how products are made, it's made based on intuition. And if you see how the cosmetics products are marketed, they are marketed also through intuition. So they don't know how much money is to be made through Facebook ads, through Google ads. They just trust on their instincts. So because we've witnessed the power of data through Huisol's growth, and also from my personal background through 4 years of consulting at BCG with focus in the consumer goods practice, we know that if we can somehow integrate all the data and decentralize it, we can change the nature of the beauty industry. So if you have more questions, please come to our session at 2 p.m.
Very cool, very cool. Chase?
Hey, hi everyone. Nice meeting you. My name is Chase. I'm a VP of Ecosystem at TTC Protocol. TTC Protocol the idea came from the service called Tata UFO in China, which has about 11 million users. The idea kind of sprang from the trend that we are seeing inside our user trend. Before, I feel like millennials are more about sharing the content was the main thing. People going to nice restaurants and then wearing a beautiful clothes and then sharing that in the Instagram, the perfect image. However, the trend we're seeing is that a lot of the younger generations are becoming more and more creators and then active content consumers. Also, they have an idea of making money from the action of creating and consuming the contents. So we found the Steemit idea very interesting at the beginning. We thought it was a great research paper, academic paper, and then we were following the trend. And it really was working in a way, and we saw a great chance in there. Decide to bring in the 11 million users to the game and really try to bring an impact to both blockchain, cryptocurrency world, and to the social media.
Very cool.
That's it.
Yeah, just throw a bit more out there. The first, as far as I know, the first reverse ICO of its kind, I think, was Kick, right? And these days we're seeing a lot more bigger players coming into the game. Whether they're tokenizing an existing business or they're moving the team and building a supplemental business, that's up for question. It is a bit hazy. I think the term reverse ICO is very popular in Korea, but I've heard ICO 2.0 in the US. There's some other terms I've heard floating around in Japan. Just for the panelists then, can you just answer, in your opinion, what is kind of the major difference between, the key differences between just an ICO or a reverse ICO? Grant, yeah.
I'll just take a stab at it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there are a lot of differences between our type of ICO and the ones that we've seen over the last year and a half. The main difference, I think, is the understanding of the industry. I think that for my case, offline retail, working with merchants, we experienced for the last 6 years how hard it is to create a software, train the merchants, and get them to use the actual product. Not only do you need a good technology team, but you need actual salespeople, customer service people, educators, and things like that. And I think a lot of the ICOs that I've seen before underestimate how hard it is to actually implement the technology. And I think having that experience in the industry will make a huge difference in actually bringing blockchain technology to real life.
Very cool. Anybody else want to comment? Oh, yeah.
And in my opinion, what's the most important thing is that the reverse ICO teams can actually get, people out there in real society into the blockchain world. Because look at the projects out there. Steam, just blockchainers use it, and DTube, no impact. So in my opinion, not a single project can have real impact on, real life, general people's lives, right? So, but on copyright protocol, for example, we're gonna airdrop some tokens to our existing 4 million users, and we're gonna allow them use fiat as well, so that they can easily use our platforms as usual. So in that way, I think that's the thing. The reverse ICO teams can make it happen even faster than the other teams.
Yeah. So take your existing users, educate them, incentivize them, and make that transition really seamless, right? Now, I'm sure the next question that's probably burning in your heads is, yesterday I spoke on this chair about regulation, and it's kind of a big mixed bag. It is kind of a tricky question, right? But taking an existing business and tokenizing that and decentralizing the entire thing, that must be tricky. Can any of you guys comment on kind of the regulatory quest that you went through? The regulation stuff, yeah. What were the first steps? What would you recommend if an entrepreneur on the stage in the audience is interested in tokenizing their business?
So okay, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't speak much about that actually. Yeah. So basically, our social network service is in China, which brings a lot of red alert to the investors to start begin with, because they're like, what if, government has anything on it? That's already one, and then two. Recently, Chinese government banned the participation of the ICO to the Chinese citizens, so that was second thing. I think we are playing a really hard game for that sense, but I think it's kind of fair game for everybody at the same time, because a regulation is not really set for a lot of countries in the world, and we are not really sure how it's going to roll out. So the strategy and then the path we took is to, of course, talk to good lawyers, right? Try to make sure that you minimize the risk that could be you can foresee, and then try to minimize any type of accounting or the legal risk that you can imagine by using our existing regulations. So I know this is kind of cliche, but any step or any kind of announcement that's legally binding, you definitely gotta talk to good lawyers with experience in the cryptocurrency or blockchain or ICO.
So piggybacking off of that,
right.
then are there any just common misconceptions about doing an ICO? I think any legitimate founder has probably thought about, what if right? Yeah, can you guys comment on that?
Yeah, so I think a common misconception is that, these founders or these companies have no choice. They couldn't get equity funding. Mm-hmm. So, therefore they're just trying to find more money.
Right.
And ICO is like the most convenient way. But in our case, we're almost cash flow positive. Mm-hmm. We have no trouble getting venture backing. We've received already $11 million in funding. We think the blockchain technology will create a new experience for our user base. It's purely about the technology in our case. I think Watcha can also attest to kind of that as well.
Yeah. So we actually have raised $21 million for equity funding. Last week we just raised $12 million for Series C. Thank you for congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
And so we actually told our investor that how much confident we are about our project. Mm-hmm. So our protocol our project can have impact on the content ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So that way they understand what's going on. And
the investors were open to taking your existing business and tokenizing it?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And sorry, let me just add one more thing. I think it's a room for it's an opportunity for us, because we can access to more customers who didn't even know about our companies.
Right.
They get to know our companies through ICOs. And as Alex and Grant said, we have solid business, and we have no problem getting more funding, because all of us got 10 million plus fundings. But I think it opens more room for us in not within the regions that we play in, but it also opens our room to expand our businesses in other regions of the world.
I'm seeing, and maybe this is something you guys can comment on as well. I have the luxury of having one foot in San Francisco and one foot in South Korea, right? And they're very different markets, right? And both are approaching ICOs and tokenizations a little bit differently. But in terms of the reverse ICOs, I don't think there's as much going on anywhere like Korea. Korea is by capita by far the best. Can you guys comment on why that might be the case? Is it just the market itself? Is it just the market penetration? Or not really? Grant, give it a stab. No, give it a stab, yeah.
I think that Korean people are hardcore. And they are very trendy, actually. Mm-hmm. And so if there's one person wearing something really cool, you'll see 10 more Koreans wearing it like the next day.
Right.
And that's just the nature of Seoul, actually, because so many people are in this small city, small space. So when one entrepreneur has a great idea and wants to do it, many other entrepreneurs get that idea. And also I think it's because crypto in general in Korea is something that people know. Like my grandma knows Ripple, you know, like it's something that's becoming more and more mainstream. And so I think because we see the demand and the potential customers already know crypto in their minds, I think that it's also naturally something that we come up with as well.
Very cool. Chase?
Yeah, I think also on top of that, like I started my career as a SoftBank Ventures. The challenge of the Korean startup is that it's a very, in a way, very limited small market for the unicorns to be born.
It's not like Japan.
Right, it's not like it, right? There's a language barrier. Koreans use Koreans.
Right.
And then as Grant said, it's very, in a way, tight community of people, right? Koreans are just drinking soju, eating barbecues, you know. We all know crypto by now. The thing is, I think a lot of reverse ICO is happening in Korea because after 2-3 years of a very successful venture run, a lot of startup founders have this idea, like, how do I grow? How do I grow outside of Korea? And then I think it's 2015 and 14 and 16 during that era, before the blockchain got really popularized. You know, there's a mad run of all the Korean startup was taking a leading position in each vertical sector, going to Southeast Asia, China, Japan, or you know, Europe, for example, right? So Watcha is expanding slowly, and then Spoka is as well, and then Huizol. So I think this blockchain technology kind of gave them a different tool, right? Different method to actually bring their service and then introduce to many other people outside of their existing market size right now. So I think that's why, you know, a lot of Korean top leading players are jumping into reverse ICO.
Got it. And Alex, because you guys have some business outside of Korea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you comment on that?
Yeah, actually, Watcha has a Japanese version. You can download it on App Store and Google Play.
Shameless.
Yeah.
Shameless.
But it was really hard to, you know, get into this market. It's really tough and expensive, you know, expensive marketing here. But so with our blockchain project, we're gonna make our platforms open source so that other third parties can easily join our ecosystem. So that way we thought, oh, this is the big opportunity to go global as fast as we can. So
right.
Yeah.
Very good. That's really interesting. I actually wanted to, you know, put Chase on the spot for a minute because it's more of a personal thing. I've launched a social app before. Cross borders, and it's definitely not easy. I think right now everybody in this room knows kind of social is being dominated by the giants like Facebook and Twitter. Can you comment on that, and what's kind of TTC's approach?
Right. So you have to drop the F-bomb.
Yeah, the hard one.
Right. So every time, like, we're building a protocol that's out to disrupt the current centralized social network, and one of the most questions that I list here is that, what about Facebook, right? So that's a tough question, to be honest. The way we approach this protocol business, or why we started this even, is that we saw a little bit of very tiny, but still we saw a chance of actually literally disrupting the current centralized system. So Facebook, with the current centralized data system, has 2 billion, 3 billion people under their pocket. Network effect they have, those people create is pretty much unbeatable at this point. There's one player has to grow from scratch to gain 3 billion people is pretty much impossible at this point, I think. So until last year or a few years ago, it was probably of the level of all the smaller guys who doesn't have a billion or less users, right? Or doesn't have a dominance in specific vertical or the country. However, the way we are seeing is that with the protocol, now we can bring out two different effects. First one is that any dApp coming onto the protocol could benefit from the increased growth based on the token incentives. And second part, which is more important, is that you can actually have a union of different community, union of different social network that could create a similar network effect of the one centralized data system because underneath the protocol, all the users and data are working as a one single living thing. I couldn't find the right word, right? So that's the chance we're betting on right now. And then I mean it's good timing since we started going around the pitching. Then Facebook's share kind of evaporated. About 20% is gone within 4 days. So that was good timing for us. But I think we definitely believe there's some kind of crack that's opening up, and that's kind of a startup's job for just jump in with a jump of faith and then bet on this. So that's the journey we're going. Tough journey. But
this is good. Actually, you know what? This is pretty good. Let me move down the line and Valentino here. I know nothing about the beauty industry, right? So could you? But I do know. I do know. At least in the U.S., Amazon and eBay sell a ton of beauty products, right? So what are your thoughts there? Yeah.
Let me ask you back, Alex. Let me ask you back.
Okay.
What is one category that Amazon and eBay is not doing the best at? It's cosmetics.
Really? Yeah.
It's cosmetics. You see people buy stuff at Sephora.
Right.
Sephora is one retailer that Amazon and eBay could not kill.
Right.
And if you go to department stores, what is the first thing you see on the very first floor? It's cosmetics. Because cosmetics is different. It's different than any other categories, because it goes on your skin. You don't just buy things on Amazon and put it on your face. I mean, I see that the male audiences, they're not getting it, but I'm pretty sure that female audiences are understanding. You wouldn't use something, you wouldn't buy something on Lawson or 7-Eleven for your face, right?
Right.
So I think Amazon and eBay would not be able to enter the cosmetics market, beyond what they are selling at this point, which is very common, lip balms and hand creams, because it's very highly involved category, from the customer's point of view. So that's my answer.
Okay. And then can we move down the line? Well, what about the retail front?
Yeah. If I
Actually,
knew
if you can touch
that
on decentralizing that business and how that's going to change everything, that'd be great. Yeah.
So offline retail software is like a really thankless, tough, really hard industry. If I knew it was this hard, I would not have started my company. Actually, it's very, very hard. And in the course of our business, actually, very big companies like Kakoa in Korea copied our service and tried competing with us. But then they realized that just having good software isn't enough, and you can't outsource the sales of solutions to merchants, because offline salespeople are comfortable selling refrigerators and like coffee machines and things like that, but they can't sell software. So going to the actual offline market requires that you have to build your own sales force and things like that, and it just takes a lot of time to do that. For example, in Japan as well, it took us a long time to penetrate this market, but we finally got a partnership with Line, the messaging service. We signed it last year. And the reason why Line isn't creating it themselves is because they know it'll take too long, and that it's just the margin isn't good enough for them. They can do many other things. That's why the space that we're in right now is for those who already have the expertise and infrastructure in place. And I think that's why we're well positioned to become a player that brings blockchain to offline retail. Even large companies can't do it. We have the infrastructure in place with Carry, the protocol.
Very cool. And then Alex, you as well. So being you should try this. Being a fund, we've seen a lot of streaming apps come to the space. You guys are a little bit different because you guys have major contracts, I think, right, with HBO and some others, right? Can you sort of comment on that business and sort of just dive a little bit deeper into decentralizing that?
All right. As far as I know, the every single blockchain project on contents is dealing with the indie contents and user-generated contents that people never watch, right? And the contents people truly love is the premium contents like Game of Thrones, Sex and the City, and Marvel movies that we are already licensing. So, and those content providers require legit organizations and legit infrastructure to protect their right management system. So I think the 100% decentralized project, blah, blah, takes long years to get those, premium contents.
Very good.
And we are now licensing their contents.
Okay.
So there's an advantage.
Very cool.
Yeah, sorry, Alex.
No, go ahead. That's all you.
I mean, I wanted to talk about decentralization, but I love cosmetics, so I sort of forgot.
You love cosmetics?
I love cosmetics.
Okay.
I personally love cosmetics. So just to clarify one thing, that what if giants come in, like it could be Facebook and social media, it could be whoever, it could be Amazon, but I think the reason that we want to decentralize this project is because the big players, they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't take the risk of personally for Cosmochain, we want to decentralize our data itself so that both customers and companies can share it for their own purpose. And we are taking the risk of cannibalization because we believe that this risk taking could eventually ultimately expand the entire market. So we are doing this for the good of the entire industry, but I highly doubt that Amazon or eBay would take this risk.
Very cool. So jumping off of that, I think another question that I'm just trying to foresee what you guys might be thinking. If you had to highlight like one of the single biggest challenges in pivoting an existing business and tokenizing the whole thing, what would that be? Anybody on the panel?
Single most difficult factor to shift from the current model to the blockchain model. Actually, the short answer is that I think all these guys probably have a lot harder challenges than us because we are entirely 100% mobile application. We don't have to do any B2B services or there's no other partnership contract going on. On top of that, social has a lot of parallel thing with the blockchain technology, I think, because as the number of users grow, as the number of nodes grow, the value goes up. And for us, the hardest challenge is to whether we want to jump in and then take a leap of faith. I think that was the hardest part. And then, as I said, like there's a really high ceiling. There's a concrete ceiling that was set by the Facebook. So for us, it just made a lot of sense to jump in.
Yeah. Grant, can you comment on this?
I think everything boils down to people.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have good people, you can't do any business, whether it's a centralized or decentralized organization. And right now, in Korea at least, no one knows how to build a blockchain. Like it's so new that it's hard to find developers with experience building with this new technology. And so the next best thing you can do is find just pure good fundamental developers and have them learn. But it takes a long time.
Right.
And so there isn't like a rich pool of people to just choose from to do this. It's such a brand new category. Even on like the operations side, like community manager, like that's something that we never had to think about in our previous business. But trying to find those types of people and train them, and no one knows what they're doing, like that's kind of like a challenge for us.
Very good. If not, okay. So I want to dive into something else a little bit because as an investor, I run into some awkward situations. ICOs, the landscape is changing very fast. I think we've all heard that before. But the way they're being structured is also being changed really, really interesting.
I don't want to call it airdrop, but it's tokens that we give them, but they have to fulfill conditions in order to actually see the value. So the conditions that we are going to put in place for our users is they have to download our wallet. And then secondly, they can only use these tokens at one of our merchant locations. So they physically go there, buy a coffee or get a haircut, or buy Nike's one of our customers in Korea, a Nike sweatpants or something, so that they actually experience the blockchain. So it's not free tokens, but if it isn't cheap or free for people, it's that much of a barrier, that much of a friction before they can use it. And so a very big portion of our tokens is for getting them to actually use it.
So for Cosmochain, just like Grant said, we are allocating a big portion of our tokens for our partners. Our partners are, they could be the product manufacturers, could be R&D companies, it could be commerce players. So that's one big portion that our tokens will go to, and another will be to our to build our ecosystem, because we need to build our platform. We need data analytics, and to just anything that we need to build this platform ready. And just want to comment on the concern that Alex has raised. So what about the companies that allocate a bunch of tokens to the team? I'm pretty sure they have their needs. But I think for us, we've locked it. I wouldn't say it publicly, but we have lock-up period and all that. And I think it shows how much we are dedicated to the business itself. So I mean, we haven't dedicated 40% of tokens to ourselves.
Right.
We have dedicated much less. But having it locked up for a period of time, and promise to the public that we wouldn't be selling it anywhere, that's a promise to the investors and a show of interest and sincerity of our project.
Right. Yeah. Chase.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. I think coming from the BCM or traditional industry, token allocation is basically kind of showing the investors how we're going to use those tokens to run the business, right? So this protocol, as I explained before, has two biggest challenges we have to do. First one is helping dApps coming to protocol to grow fast, and second one is having a collective scale, meaning we have to attract a lot of dApps to join our protocol in short time, as before the big giants comes in. So we allocated about 25% of token as a issue reward pool. Those are tokens that will be used to incentivize those users in all the dApps on top of protocol. And we also allocated another 20% as an ecosystem. What we call ecosystem is that we'll be actually aggressively using those tokens to invest to existing social network to bring them into our this protocol. And those are two big chunks that we really need to secure at the beginning, beside the token sales and whatnot, because we have an aggressive goal of gaining 100 million users by the end of the year, and like
10xing your business.
10x of the current right, and we are not doing it ourselves. We're trying to make a lot of friends, right, using the token basically. Right. So it's like it never made sense to me, like founders and teams take more than 25-30% of. I never got that, but it seemed like there was a trend back in the days. Right.
Yeah. So pretty similar here. I think the reverse ICO teams and other entrepreneurs, they understand how hard the business can grow. I mean, how hard we can make the business grow. Mm-hmm. And we understand, we know that just because we open our source, so everyone comes in there, so make it their product and blah blah. So product, so with 10 million, 100 million, it's not gonna happen, right? So we all know that. So we also invest in existing platforms and or acquire platforms to join our ecosystem. So we're gonna spend our 15%, using that.
Very cool. So lots of pools to incentivize existing users, sort of what I envisioned. Couple of other things. I think all four of you guys are sort of in different stages of decentralizing your existing businesses. I did have a chance to see Grant's demo, so I was really impressed by that. Can you guys comment on sort of where you guys are at with development, just team building, structuring, etc.? What's that? Go in order? Yeah, let's start with Alex. Just, yeah, where are you guys in the current state of the business and tokenization? Are you guys building partnerships? Are you guys building product?
Yeah, we are in talks with the few Hollywood content providers. But
Hollywood content providers?
Yeah,
okay.
Hollywood content providers. So
you're not allowed to disclose who?
Yeah, no.
No? Okay. I see. Okay. I see how it is.
Yeah, so in our case, we're lucky because we have a team of 20 engineers already sitting in our offices. And so we've already created a proof of concept so that people can see what our vision is, like what type of experience we want to give. Why is my alarm going off right now?
It's a meeting, right?
Sorry. So we're at a proof of concept stage on the development side. And then partnership-wise, we're developing some really big ones that I can't say.
You also can't say?
Yeah, but if you join our Telegram room, you will see the announcement.
Okay, I see.
So we have two different teams within Cosmo Chain. We have a business team and we have an engineering team. And the engineering team is actually building the platform that Huiso will go on. So it will integrate the social media, social network, a marketplace, and advertisements. So that's one part of our work. And the other is the business. So we can disclose who we partnered with because it's all on our website. So we have partnered with more than 6-7 different brands in cosmetics and a couple R&D companies, and we are in process of expanding further.
Well, I don't have partners to disclose or not because but we have 11 million users, and in terms of timeline, we are planning to launch our first app, which is Tata UFO, with the TTC protocol integrated by the third quarter this year. What that really means is that by third quarter, there will be 11 million new wallet holders coming to the cryptocurrency world, blockchain world, and I think that's the first impact they're gonna bring to the market. At the same time, as I said, like we're not trying to get 100 million by ourselves. Growing 10x, maybe 100 million in China sounds reasonable, but we're not betting on that. We are actually, me as a VP of the ecosystem, we are discussing with multiple other players. Maybe for that I cannot really share the names yet, but there's a company in Korea. There's a lot of actually niche communities or niche social network that's not really in the daylight or that's not in the TechCrunch, but I'm talking with a photo community that has about 35 to 40 million MAU, that has users in South America and in Eastern Europe and India. We're also thinking about acquiring a service that's pretty popular in the US and India with about 10 million downloads, right? So, as I said, like in terms of like, we are getting very aggressively to that 100 mil as our milestone. Yep.
Very cool. Obviously, there's a couple of sensitive questions that we weren't able to address on stage, but we do have a couple of minutes left, and I did want to try and open up the floor for questions. Can anybody just, if you guys have questions, raise your hands. We can try to address as best we can. Somebody with the mic will run over to you, yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Good discussion. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, in Japan, most of CEO, why he want to IPO? Mm-hmm. Because not only the capital, but also want to be familiar. Yeah. And trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
How to say? The recruiting and the branding. Mm-hmm. Yes. If without IPO, most of people they don't know the company. Yeah. And I want to know ICO can be familiar and get the trust by ICO?
We did that out of just, they were our friends, we were in Korea. They wanted to build a Korea-specific blockchain. One was a doctor, MediBlock, and he wanted to, I think he's here somewhere, and wanted to try to disrupt the healthcare industry. So we just sort of got involved. But it was half of it was market timing when the last big wave came. And I think Icon at its peak was 155x return. And suddenly everybody in the world knew who Icon was, and everybody was an Icon millionaire in Silicon Valley, and everybody thought we were the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though we didn't really do much. They were our friends, so we helped them build that out. One thing is from a brand perspective, yeah, I think if you blow through the noise like that, like I can just tell you from the Bay Area, no one really understood what was going on in Korea. Besides, why is 77% of Ripple transactions Korea? It went from that to every project in Korea that I know of, including the ones that are a little edgy, established funds, established players will call me and ask on every single one of them, what do you think about this project? What do you think of this project? All eyes are on Korean ICOs, just based on that one factor alone. And number two, for motivation, and maybe I'm not the best person to answer this, and you guys are not quite there yet. I'm actually an advisor for MediBlock, just in that sense. But they also, at the last big bull market, were something like 40-something X return, right? And suddenly, all of their employees, interns included, were all millionaires, right? Everybody, right? I mean, they all have lockups, but they were. And now you're hiring new employees, and everybody knows it's a bear market. And maybe it might start dropping soon, and the dynamics become suddenly really weird. Like, hey, I have 10 years experience, he's an intern, but he has $2 million, and I have 1/10 of that, right? So I think the motivation part is getting trickier, because the market is so volatile, and I think that has a huge implication in why a lot of the projects have a hard time sourcing talent. I'm also an advisor for another project in Singapore. And what I've seen happen is that Singapore is not a huge space for technology startups. But when you have a really strong team like Lloyd running Kyber or something, they sort of become the local talent suck, right? And then suddenly a lot of the other projects who aren't necessarily trending so well, even though the founders are doing great things, have such a hard time hiring talent, right? And so I think Pavel from Bluezell, right? So they're doing hackathons in Vancouver, right? Trying to build out, maybe we have to decentralize these teams to incentivize everybody. Going to areas where there's a lot of talent, where blockchain awareness is not quite there to incentivize. I'm not sure if that answered your questions, but that is an existing challenge right now, and it all has to do with the fact that there's liquidity immediately at the end of the gates, and there's volatility that really drives that down. Any other questions? One more in the corner. Ooh, I think this might be the last one. You got 52 seconds.
Okay, hi. So my question is about the current state of the cryptocurrency market.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's currently in kind of a recession, and I think that's partly due to the fact that there has been a lot of hype and speculative action with ICOs, with these mad returns which are unseen in the conventional markets. Mm-hmm. So I would like to get your opinions on when this, bearish period will end approximately, and when we will see, the good bullish days.
All right.
Again.
I'll take this one because I'm the fund. I'm supposed to do this. For reference, I have my entire net worth in crypto. Blockchain assets, correct me if I'm wrong. Here's the reality is we work really closely with all of the biggest exchanges. A lot of the volume we saw were in some ways artificial. And today, a lot of the Korean exchanges are self-regulating. If you guys remember December and kimchi premium, it was 45% more expensive in Korea for everything. Yeah, we want to avoid that. It makes the government really nervous, right? No one likes money laundering. It just feels like money is leaving the country, right? All of the countries have different approaches to money. Like, I think the Chinese government has very ambitious plans for the yuan. So anything that challenges that, they're going to block that down, and that FUD is really locking down that market. But what we're seeing now is the dark pools are getting really, really big. The transaction volumes that we see in CoinMarketCap versus what's actually going on, like billion-dollar orders for Bitcoin, they're still there, right? It's just happening sort of under the shadows for now. I'm cautiously optimistic. I wouldn't call it a bull market, But usually it's all determined by, is new money entering the market today? Right now, the banks are kind of the bottleneck today. All right, they're not incentivized to help blockchain startups or exchanges. It's just an added risk for them, right? And now in South Korea, we're just getting around to doing AMLs and KYCs. Literally like 2 months ago, miners can finally not trade crypto, right? So we're at the really early stages. In the US, I've spoken with a lot of the major venture capitalists, and they have thrown so much money into custody solutions, right? So what does that mean? It means the family money. It means the old money, right? The guys that are going to be buying $100, $200 million of Bitcoin every other week. They want to come in, but they can't deal with, like, I don't know how to buy this thing. Like, I just want this to be on a public exchange, right? So that, we're cautiously optimistic, should be happening, coming in soon. New money coming in theoretically should mean the market should be more liquid, more active. I spent some time in Toronto. What's really interesting there is you can do reverse takeovers of existing tickers and existing stocks and put them onto the public exchange, and those all start pumping because, again, the family officers are being pressured by LPs to get into the blockchain space, but they don't want to go to some app to buy, right? So again, we're thinking it should improve in some due time, but again, we're in the very early stages of blockchain. Grant?
Yeah, if I may add, I think a lot of the price going down had a lot to do with ICO projects that promised something and didn't deliver.
Yeah,
and
very important.
A lot of scammers and just a lot of weird projects out there. That's why I think that the market needs real use case of the blockchain in the actual market, so that there's a fair market determination of what the price should be in a fundamental basis. And that's why I think that I'm excited. I'm biased, obviously. I have a project that I'm doing, but I'm excited to see projects from real businesses because I want to see blockchain technology finally be used in real life. And I think that's the only way for this market to mature and for prices to actually be something that's more in line with what we see in traditional financial markets. And so that's why I think that I want to see more and more of real businesses with real assets close to the customer be able to bring this technology to actual real life. And I think the market needs that.
Yeah, and it's changing rapidly, you guys. I think Kakao, which is a dominant technology company in Korea, announced that they're going to be building out a blockchain. I know there's a team inside Facebook that's really aggressively building something just in the Bay Area. It's kind of under the radar. So again, the big companies, the big players are paying attention, right? Unfortunately, in the US, crypto assets has not been categorized as an asset class. I just want them to tell us it's legal or illegal. Once that's ready, the entrepreneurs can do something about it. So again, there's a lot of factors just waiting on some major decisions coming down the pipeline. Okay, I think that's enough for us. We're out of time. Please find us. We're here all day. And again, 2 p.m. upstairs, breakout sessions. Check out the demos. They're really great. And again, let us know if you have any questions if you find us. Thank you.
Thank you.